Welcome. My name is Mark Corbet. I'm going to be your professor for this class, Calculus 1, this fall at Lone Star College, North Harris. This isn't a completely online class. It's going to run from August 29th to December 18th. So hang on, let's get started and start talking about this course. First thing is, this is a copy of the syllabus that we're going to talk about here that I'm going to present. This syllabus can change some dates or maybe some details. So any dates or details or changes that I make, I will inform all of you through email and in D2L. We will be running this class in the D2L modality and WebAssign. So taking a look at that, this is D2L, basically Desire to Learn, our support system at Lone Star College for all classes. In D2L, you will find content that you'll see. We'll look at this from your point of view. So this is your point of view for this class. The content is here on the left, and your first start will be pressing on the syllabus and watching the syllabus video. Every section is going to have some videos available that you can watch, and they're pretty helpful. I do really strongly suggest you watch the content videos before you do the exercises. That's absolutely a good idea. And again, there's a copy of the syllabus there, and you'll get that. There's a current copy of the video, which I'll change up with this new copy in a short period of time. So on D2L, you'll see that. You'll also see eventually your grades be posted in D2L. Up here, there's nothing here currently, but you will see your grades posted in there, and you'll be able to see that. So that's really D2L. Anything that I will do through D2L. So make sure your email is active and it's a correct email that you keep reading and receiving throughout the course, as I'll be updating that through the D2L. The other component is WebAssign. I'll talk about that in a second of how to get into WebAssign. Whoops, lost that there. Here we go. In WebAssign, your student view is going to look like this. It'll have your assignments, any notices. Class hasn't started yet because I'm doing this the day before, but your class will look a little more like this. You'll get an assignment schedule. So let's see. You'll be able to see a class schedule that's very similar to this. You'll see the assignments, and you'll see the assignments are listed by weeks, and you can see what's going on. With every assignment, there is a video available. The videos are okay. They're limited to very short skills and very particular things, maybe 4 or 10 minutes long. The videos that I provide for the course are going to be a little more lengthy. They're going to be roughly 20 to 30-minute videos, and they will involve skills and problems that I'll be doing throughout the course. So a lot of my videos are practical, not quite going to be doing your theoretical teaching, but some of that as well. So we'll be able to do that introduction and do some problems that way. So that's the modality right there. Back on the course here, one of the things that you do need to realize is you should have this as a prerequisite. That's the pre-calculus. And you should also have a strong course in trig before this class. If you don't have either of those two, you really do need to contact me by email or make an appointment. We'll talk in WebEx because you're going to have a hard time in the class if you don't have a good basis in either pre-cal and trig. Both of those courses are required at North Harris. So I'm expecting that you know your trig really, really well, and you know your pre-calculus really, really well. So hopefully that's the case. So the textbook, one of the reasons why I had to redo this video is we've updated our textbook this fall to the Calculus 12th edition. So you'll see that in WebAssign, the book that's available is the 12th edition. So if we pop over to WebAssign, you can actually go into WebAssign and see your textbook. We'll look at that ebook right here. Your textbook's pretty good. It goes through something called Mind Tap. You can see the first chapter, limits, see that what is calculus, and go through, and we'll talk about that as an introduction and see what that's all about. There's some pretty cool stuff there. There's all kinds of support material, what's going on without calculus, with calculus, that sort of stuff is in that first chapter of the book. We'll talk about the tangent line problem. I'm actually going to actually do that as something we'll remark about as we go through to introduce that later on. So all of that's going to be there in the video part that I'm giving you, but there's also other stuff here in our part. So I'll close that off. Differentiation, for example, we can go through the chapter. I'm just jumping in here at a random spot. You can see down here an example is worked out, a solution. It's all there in the online stuff. You have worked out examples, non-worked examples. It's really got a lot of stuff going on in the book. There's also some video links, occasionally proofs, appendix links here. Let me see if I can find a video. There's not a huge number of videos, but they are there somewhere. So there's some support like that in the online book. The electronic book gives you all the worked out examples, so the solutions. It really is an important part of your course to have that kind of access and to be able to refer to that. With that being said, this actually getting that link to WebAssign gets you into that homework stuff, so it's an absolute thing. How you do that is pretty simple. You simply go to this website, www.webassign.net. You click on enter class key. When you do that, you use this class key, follow the instructions. It'll ask you for your money, so you pay that through your credit card. It's very simple to do, and then you can get access into the course very quickly and almost instantaneously. This is strongly suggested as the way to get access to the book and WebAssign. It's the cheapest way and it's the quickest way. You do have an option to go through the bookstore. That's very lengthy, and it's going to create a long delay for you to access your material and get into the class. So it's not recommended. You need to get in here right away. We have assignments that are due almost in the first couple of days. So literally, as I go back to, let's see, our WebAssign here, my classes, I go to our class schedule. Your first assignment is due on Friday of this week, September 2nd. So you don't have any time to waste at all. You need to get on it right away. So that's an important thing for WebAssign. Calculators, you'll see in the first couple of videos that I do, I will have a calculator up and running. That will be a Wabbit. It's called Wabbit Emu. I know I'm mispronouncing it. It's W-A-B-B-I-T. So it's a special emulator model that models the calculator. It's going to actually emulate this calculator right here, which is the TI-84 Silver Edition. So you'll see that on the screen occasionally. So if you have any questions about that, just contact me. But that's and you don't absolutely need a calculator, but it is helpful. A graphing calculator is very helpful. It's going to give you faster access to do things with the limits that we're going to start with, and it'll give you a graph, and it'll help you with looking at things and obviously calculating, and all your trigs in there too. So it's a really important tool that we can use. You are limited to up to a model TI-84. We don't usually allow students to use a graphing calculator that's computer now algebra system. So a TI-92 or 91, 89, anything like that. We want you to stick with a TI-84 or a TI-84 CE. That's fine. There's a Casio model as well. I believe the 6850 is a common model. You could use that. It's just not as good as the TI. So we got that. So in calculus, we're going to be really working on this thing right here, the purpose. And what we're really doing in calculus is, in essence, is we're going to go and do two major things. Um, One is we're going to deal with what's called the tangent line problem. And I'll do a short video of that as a first introduction. But basically, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a graph, and we're going to look at the secant line and its slope. And then we're also going to look at that graph and look at the tangent line here. And you'll see that the slope of the secant line, we're going to relate it to the slope of the tangent line. And that's really going to be the calculus, is we're going to actually end up solving the tangent line problem in a big way. And that's going to give us a whole bunch of tools and things that we can do that we couldn't do before. The other problem, what we're going to do is also a pretty simple problem, is we have a curve. We're going to find 2 points on that curve, and we're going to find the area under the curve. And we're going to do that using an integral, or the antiderivative. So we're going to do the fundamental theorem of calculus, which is going to give us the area under the curve between A and B. So that is going to be a big thing for us. And those two things together, plus a lot of skills related to those, such as curve sketching and optimization and related rates, all these things are going to be things that we're going to address in the course. So they're going to be side things that are going to show up because we're doing all that. The concept of limits, continuity, all of that stuff. So all of these course outcomes are here. Solutions for tangents, drawing graphs, transcendental functions, doing all the limits. Function is continuous, differentiable. Rules of differentiation, we're going to do a lot of that. We're going to do a lot of applications of calculus and the concepts. We're going to define integrals in the fundamental theorem of calculus. That's what we just talked about a second ago. We're going to articulate the relationship between derivatives and integrals using the fundamental theorem of calculus. And we're going to use implicit differentiation. So all of these things are things we're going to do. Remember that this is, go back here, a 4-semester-hour course. Now I have to remind people every semester that what that means kind of is that you're expected to do 4 semester hours. So that is kind of like 4 lecture hours per week, and you multiply that by 3, and that's 12 practical or homework hours. So you should be expecting to spend somewhere between 4 and 12 minimum hours per week on this class. If you're not prepared to do that, you're going to have a hard time in the class. That's what the credits stand for. So getting really down into the specifics, this is kind of the calendar of stuff and how we're going to break it down. We're going to start right away on Monday with the limits and graphing. We're going to work through that. We'll work through chapter 2.1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 2.4. Our first test will be on that material, so 1, 2, I'm sorry, 1, 3 to 2.4. That's basically going to be on test 1. And then we're going to go down the next quarter of the course, and we'll do test 2 in October 17th. And then we're going to go and do the next quarter of the course here, antiderivatives, all of that. And our next test will be on the 13th of November. And then we will do the last quarter of the course. And then we have our final test, which is going to be December 11th, which is a little later than normal. We started a little late this year. So we started in the 29th. So we finish actually in the second week of December over here. And then our final exam will be in that week after the 11th, so the 12th, the following week, the week of the 12th to 18th. So on the 12th to 18th, you only have one thing to do, and that is to write the final, which brings us down kind of into how all that's going to happen with evaluation. So the first thing is our grades are as normal, so A is 90 to 100, B 80 to 89, that sort of thing. So all of that. I have to remind you that incomplete grades, this is really specific. It has to follow this rule that the I grade is reserved for students unable to complete the last part of the course, and there's only two reasons for that, either due to illness or other extenuating circumstances. That is not for people who fell behind. This is people who cannot continue to move in the course. So if you fall behind, that's not considered an I grade. Okay, you have to document the circumstances and all of that. So keep that in mind. We're going to go fast and furious through this course, so we can't just be using that excuse. We'll talk about late homeworks and stuff like that. The grades are going to be mostly available in WebAssign, especially the homeworks, but in D2L I will also post your test results. So I'll kind of do that after every test. I will update D2L. In D2L you'll simply have your test average at the time that I post it, and then your test grades average at that time that I post it. Again, all your videos are in D2L. You need to watch the video in D2L. There are actually links to YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, so you can go there as well and see them, but the link of which one you need to watch in which order is there in D2L. You need to do that well before the homework, and then you also need to have the e-textbook open and going through the chapter and looking at examples. I'm not above taking an example straight out of one of the examples in the textbook and use it as a test example because that works really well. So keep that in mind. So 20% of your coursework is homework. So you're going to have homeworks twice a week or more. You can see the schedule here. You have some weeks where you'll have 3, like this week here. The third week you're going to have 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4. And some weeks you're only going to have 2 things, 1.4 and 2.1 in week 2. So it's going to be pretty heavy, and some of the homeworks are longer than others, so you can't really judge it just by how many of the sections we're doing. And some of the homeworks will be harder than others, so that also is going to be an issue. And did this require, just looking at this, anyways, didn't like my grammar. So homeworks are pretty important. Now you need to get a 70% on successive homeworks. That means on the first homework to do to the second homework, you got to get 70% on the first homework before you move to the second homework. So we're going to start in 2.1. You have to get 70% on that homework to be able to start 2.2 homework. That's pretty obvious. That's going to force you that if you keep going, you're going to have a minimum grade of 70% in the homework. Okay, so those grades are not guaranteed, but as long as you're keeping up, that's where we're heading. So I'm kind of forcing your hand there to do that. And to be able to do the tests, you're going to need to have 70% on that last homework in the test set. So if you go back up here and take a look at that, you're going to have to get 70% on 1.2, 70% on 1.3, 70% on 1.4, 70% on 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 70% on 2.4, and then test number 1 will open for you. You cannot get into test number 1 unless you got 70% on the homeworks. That's just not going to happen. So that's going to force your hand. You just have to do the work to qualify to do the test. Otherwise, you'll be considered not qualified to do the test, and you'll miss the due dates. By the way, the clock for the due dates runs out, so that also clocks you out. You need to make sure you look at that, and it's not going to be at lunchtime. It's going to be in the evening at 11:59. I hope I'm not sure if I fixed that, but anyways. So you have till 11:59 at night to do your assignments. So for example, your first assignment is due Friday at 11:59. It's right there in WebAssign. It states it really clearly. And all your assignments from the beginning to the end are going to be available as Monday the 29th. Well, that's not entirely true. I haven't put them all in, but I put all the ones for test 1 in. So I'm doing a little movement and changes. Your test 1 is already ready to go, and that is actually scheduled for the 4th week, like we said, on the syllabus, your test 1 is in the beginning of the 4th week. So that is already scheduled. You already have that as a due date. You need to finish that by Sunday, September 18th at 11:59 p.m. That's when your first test is due. So you can do it earlier, but you certainly can't do it later. If you do it later, we're going to have to consider the option that you've not able to complete the course, and we'll talk about that. But that's the requirement to go through and to keep up in the course. Each test is worth 55%. So each test overall, the tests overall are 55% of the mark. And I'll be counting the best 3 out of 4 tests for your final grade. So it kind of gives you a mulligan on one of the tests. If you don't do so well, you have a chance to improve your grade because the best 3 out of 4 count. Now, remember, you're going to be doing 70% on each of the assignments. So I'm pretty sure you should be able to survive the test, but this gives you a chance to kind of squeeze out the best possible mark for your course by giving you that 3 out of 4. You have to do the test by the due date again. Now we have 2 types of tests, and this is going to be a little confusing at first, but we'll get used to it. And that's just going to depend. So first of all tests are taken on the honor system. This is an online program. This is college. You're taking your own tests at your own time, on your own, in a normal way. So treat it as a normal test and follow the rules that are set in the instructions. A test should be completed by you alone. You shouldn't be using reference materials or assistance. You shouldn't be using any special technology, assistant technology, anything like that. You can use the graphing calculator that we talked about for the test. There's no makeups for the test. There's no extensions as the schedule. So if you know something's going to happen in a week, get ahead of yourself, get ahead of the game, and do the test before it's scheduled. Don't come back to me and ask me for extensions. I cannot give you any extensions because if I give you a single extension, that means you're going to fall behind and you're going to be doing 3 or 4 things in a future week. That's just not going to run very well for you, and it's not going to work for me because I need to correct the right test at the right time, sort of thing. So plan your time. You've got it all down. You've got a calendar of events. You've got your scheduled for your assignment. So just get ahead of it and be ahead, and that way if something comes up, you're not falling behind. Don't leave an assignment or a test for the last night because that's not going to work in your favor. You know that's going to be a bad day. When you're ready for the test, you need to contact the instructor by email. So that would be when you do that, 2 things have to happen. You have to have that qualification of the 70%, and when you email me, I will send you the password for the test. Now, I'll either send you the password for an online test or, and I always reserve this as a possibility, I will instead send you a hard copy test in PDF. And you'll take that test, you'll print it out, you'll work on the printout test, you'll scan that, don't take a picture, scan it into PDF. There's plenty of apps for that for your phone to do that. And then you reply to my PDF to that email, the same email sent out with a completed test attached to the message. So that would be one where you PDF me the test back, or I'll be giving you a password and you simply do the test online. The difference is the online tests have a different feel. They work differently. They ask the questions slightly differently, and they're a little more electronic. You do get immediate feedback with the online ones, but they lack showing some work. They lack some stuff that the PDF version is a little better. You're going to get at least a couple of these throughout the semester. These are going to be random. They be randomized in different times with students, but generally, if I decide a certain test is PDF, I give it to everybody who's supposed to be doing that test at that time. So I don't decide some people do an online and some people do a PDF. Either everybody's going to do the PDF for one test or everybody's going to do an online. Like I said, this is going to be random. It may be the first test and maybe the third test, who knows. But at least 1 or 2 of the class tests will be like that. The others will be online tests. So out of the 4, 2 out of the 4, 1 out of the 4, it's going to depend. The last thing is going to be your final exam. Your final exam is worth 25%. That is actually scheduled and offered in person primarily. So I'm encouraging you to do that. It'll be a lot easier for you to do that in person. It's a long test. So it's cumulative. So it kind of covers from the beginning to the end. It's in a session that's in a classroom. It works really well to do that and come in on do that. You've got to achieve a minimum grade of 50% on the final exam to get an A, B, or C grade. Otherwise, your highest grade will be a D or an F. There's no makeup date, there's no makeup room, there's no makeup place for the final exam. The address for it is at the North Harris campus in the Winship Building, room 117. So that's going to be on December 13th at 4 to 8 p.m. As an absolute alternative, if you need to take a final exam, you're out of the town or something for that time in December, you can take an online test. It's going to be, again, a written-on test. This is going to be proctored through WebEx, sharing your full desktop, audio, and video. So I may have a lockdown browser for it as well. Be prepared to, show me a picture identification on camera. Give me a quiet, controlled space where you're alone. You must be prepared to let me know what your environment looks like so I can see your desktop and that sort of thing. And that may be anytime randomly during the test. I may just say hello and pop in and ask you how you're doing, that sort of thing. So keep that in mind. It's meant to be a kind of in-person kind of thing. So you're sharing your WebEx camera with me, and I'm doing that. You'll print out the final just like you did one of those PDF tests. You'll have it printed out in front of you, ready to go. I'll be giving that to you just before 4 p.m. on that date. So if you have any printer issues or anything like that, let me know, because like I said, it's going to be 20 pages long just because there's a lot of space in there. It's not because it's a long question or a long test. And then you'll scan that back to me and get it back to me before 8 o'clock. So you got 4 hours, easy time limit. It's great. It'll be easy. These are some links below. I'm not going to talk about them all in detail. Basically, all of the syllabus policy links, FERPA, which is your student privacy, Title IX, academic integrity, academic appeals. Remember, you are responsible to the honorable, honest approach to the classroom. You shouldn't be getting your answers from somewhere else or somebody else. You do your own work and present your own work. Anything short of presenting your own work or doing your own work is academic dishonesty, and there's a lot of penalties for that. And know what your rights are about that and make the right decisions. And this, of course, is for you. So, that's what it's all about. There's a lot of other policies, emergency procedures, conceal and carry policies, all of that. Just on a, real touch on the conceal and carry, just remember there's a couple of safety things about that. We do, campus carry is allowed. But it can be limited. So if you're going into certain office areas, the labs, stuff like that, we don't permit concealed carry or campus carry on the lab area because it's got gases and stuff and it's dangerous. So that would mean that you'd have to secure your firearm in your vehicle, and that has its own problems. You could easily have your firearm stolen from your vehicle because people can easily see when you do that as you arrive. So just keep that in mind. That might be, if you're going into a lab that day, that might be a day that you don't carry in your vehicle, so you're not leaving a weapon unauthorized in your vehicle and all of those things. So follow the laws, follow what your responsibilities are for those things. Contact for the science dean and math is at this link for the North Harris, but I've already added it to the syllabus on the bottom, so that's there. Course resources, tutoring, videos. Any contacts for full-time faculty and adjunct faculty are there. You'll kind of see a few things that are changing this semester. I am the former chair of math, so you may see my name under the chair's description in some of the pages and some not. Our new chair is Tim Algio, so he's going to be doing the chair job this fall. So you'll see my name actually no longer under the full-time faculty. You'll actually see me eventually listed as an adjunct faculty. because I'm working as an adjunct this semester. So just keep that in mind if you're looking for me. My contact information, though, is pretty simple. It's right at the top of the syllabus, right here, instructor, my name, spelled Corbeil. This is my email, very easy to find, and my WebEx. You might want to note that down as well. That's probably the best way to contact me, is just sending me an email. And if you need to discuss something a little more complicated or longer, just pop me a WebEx or pop me a message, an email or request, and we can set a WebEx time when I'm available, sometimes in the day, but mostly in the evening. But I can adjust it, that sort of thing. So that just gives you an idea about what your expectations should be for the class and the syllabus. Just briefly, if you have any other questions, contact me by email. Thank you, and enjoy your class.